The Walt Disney Company tanked their stock and destroyed their futures, fighting politics everywhere, including in Florida. Now they're doubling, tripling, quadrupling down under new CEO Josh D'Amaro and second in command Dana Walden. This time they're fighting the FCC with everything they have, including filing a major lawsuit against the U.S. government. Today we'll show you what's going on and why investors might want to be a little bit worried about a Disney gone right back into politics. It's a crazy kind of day with the breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, that we're bringing your way. Disney diving right back into the same kind of divisive stuff that has had their stock stuck for so long. No financial advice being given in this video, but pay close attention because you may want to know what's happening with the House of Mouse as they go right back to the same stuff that had them stuck for so long. Folks, click the like button and we'll dive in right now. Boys and girls, get ready because the Walt Disney Company is diving right back into politics as hard as they possibly can. Josh D'Amaro went on CNBC and he said a lot of things, but one of the most important, well, it's about the stock, admitting it's not where it should be at all. Here's Josh D'Amaro, the CEO. And remember, in the same interview, doubles, triples, quadruples down on jumping right back into the same politics that have destroyed the stock and damaged the shareholders. Here we go.
We'll get more into streaming, but speaking of shareholder returns, the stock is down 11% in the past year, though it is up 4% since you became CEO. It has far underperformed the market. What part of your strategy do you see working, and what do you think it'll take to continue to grow the stock?
Well, first, I'm not happy with where the stock stands right now. Our investors aren't happy with that. But I do believe that we're sitting in a very great space relative to the entertainment industry. As I said a moment ago, if we just continue to execute on what we've committed to, streaming growth, top line and margins, continuing to push the envelope on the experiences business, make the conversion to direct to consumer on ESPN, and just make great films, which make that flywheel spin. If we keep doing that, I think we're going to see the returns come back to us. And just look at the Q3 earnings. We're doing it. It's not just me hoping it's going to happen. We're actually delivering on that.
Pause there. I know the panel's got a lot to say. Before I bring that in, though, let me jump to another quote from him from that same interview. Quote, he says, and again, folks, you can see it here. I'll zoom in so it's ultra clear for everybody. This is out of bleedingfool.com. Same interview, CNBC at D23, same interview. Says, our position on this is clear. We're very principled on this. We're going to stand up for what we believe is journalistic integrity, and we're not going to be told how to run that side of our business. Talking about the FCC doing the broadcast license reviews on their ABC stations. This all comes down to the view. Guys, I don't know how, and we've got lots more to talk about this, but I'm opening up the panel right now. I don't know how he can admit to shareholders, we have a problem. I'm not okay with it. Here's the plan. And at the same time, by the way, we're going to sue the federal government. We're going to fight like mad to protect Sunny Hostin and Joy Behar at the potential loss of billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. If this doesn't go our way, we're going to fight the U.S. government. We're going to wage war with the Trump administration. Marv, you take it first. This is a crazy juxtaposition.
It really is. At least they are acknowledging that the stock is in a bad position. I don't think Bob would have ever acknowledged that. But Josh is saying he's not happy with the stock, but maybe he should think about that before he throws the guy whose fault that is a ticker tape parade with a giant window on Main Street, USA, that being Bob Iger. I think that it is definitely saying something that when it's being pointed out that the View has no journalistic integrity, rather than being like, well, what is this actual constructive criticism? Is this related in any way to our stock being down? The fact that we've leaned so hard into the paint on all of this, just to dig your heels in and say, no, we're not changing anything and we're going to fight to keep things exactly the way they are. I think that's remarkably short-sighted for an executive. I also feel like Josh D'Amaro plays a little game with himself in every interview where he tries to see just how wide he can open his eyes and keep them that way for that amount of time. Like he looks like a surprised cartoon character in every interview that he does. His eyes are always massively opened. And that was my big observation from that clip.
So the Disney stock is down 40% over the last 5 years. If we were to go back to the high, it's down almost 50%. And we can actually see that if we go to the maximum here. The stock is down from its high, which would be about, you got to hit it by the exact pixel, but it was almost $200. It's down at 104.86 right now at the time of recording. And so for them to say that they're going to execute and help shareholders, and then there's this. So he said that at D23 this morning on CNBC, the same CNBC. What does it say? Lillian Rizzo, Disney-owned ABC files First Amendment lawsuit against the FCC. Disney-owned ABC has filed a First Amendment lawsuit. The lawsuit comes after the FCC began an early broadcast license renewal process tied to Disney's DEI practices, which, by the way, thatparkplace.com, Marvin, your article is cited as an authoritative source in there for this. So just to make that clear to everybody, it says in a lawsuit, ABC is calling for the FCC to halt its early broadcast renewal proceedings. There's Brendan Carr. This is crazy to me because there's two things that are causing this to happen. The first is that they gave themselves bonuses and pay raises depending on hitting quotas for DEI. That's what's alleged. That's what we've reported. And it seems to be
it was there.
Irrefutable.
It was there in their official paperwork, like the SEC filing.
And then the second thing that's got them in hot water is they want to call The View. This is so crazy that in a giant company, The View, which has 1/3 the viewership of The Price is Right that it goes up against every day. This is such a teeny tiny, inconsequential show. The View wants to be called, and Disney wants to call it, a news program because they don't want to have Republicans or conservatives on it. So they want to call it a news program so they can pick exactly who comes on there, and they don't have to abide by the normal rules for equal time given to different political parties. Because of that, The View and this crazy quota system, they are under investigation by the FCC and Disney, rather than saying, hey, we've gotten rid of that. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do quota systems. And we're not going to give ourselves pay raises based on who we hire with quota systems. And hey, you know what? You're right. The View is sort of like an opinion thing. It's okay. It's a daytime talk show. Cool. They won't do those two things, and they're risking the entire Disney stock over this, because if they lose these ABC stations, which are, by the way, the biggest media markets, New York, Los Angeles, etc., this is insane. This is insane. And it points me to the idea that Disney has not changed. That they have not changed whatsoever. They do not. They think that they're ready to wage war again with the Orange Man. They're ready for the midterms and the next 4 years. They don't care about the family content stuff. They don't care about the parks. I mean, enough to keep them alive. But what they really care about is we got to be political. We got to make a change. We got to get kids to believe what we believe for the next generation. Mo, I think shareholders should be infuriated by this. To hear him, scolded on CNBC and told at D23, your stock has underperformed the market badly. What are you going to do? And him to say these things and then do the opposite thing, which is to wage war with the most important government on the planet. It's just over stupid stuff, Mo.
Yeah, and let's take whatever anybody thinks, like whatever side they're on. They tried this with DeSantis in Florida, and that didn't work out very well for them. So if you're an investor, all you see is, okay, pattern recognition. I'm like, we're starting to release movies that don't work well. We're starting to fight government against rules that we can't possibly win against. And it causes lack of trust in the product, which is why it's went down 40% in the last 5 years, I surmise. But he starts off great by saying, yeah, I don't like where our stock is. We need to make better movies. He does things that you never hear in an earnings call. And I've heard tons of earning calls, not necessarily Disney, but I worked in finance for a long time. And I can tell you, they generally just kind of like try to glaze over everything and make it sound amazing. And the fact that he starts off with like, yeah, it's not where we want it to be. We need to do better. And then he turns heel and says, yeah, we're going to try to fight for this show that is ostensibly garbage and is teetering on the line of being like something the FCC has rules against, like news distortion. It's just like it boggles the mind that he would take one win and with everything that's working in their favor, it's amazing. They just cannot stop shooting themselves in the foot.
So I need to issue a correction. I got this wrong. The View, their ratings for the last quarter, because this has changed. I hadn't looked at the most recent quarter ratings. The View has 2.6 million viewers on average per day. The Price is Right has 4.4 million viewers. So it's not tripling it. The Price is Right is just doubling it. But let's make sure we risk the entire stock and the shareholders and everything to save something doing half the ratings as the Mountain Climber and Plinko. Caro, these people, the fact the stock has been here for 5 years, it's been sitting 50% lower for 5 years, and they haven't moved it, I think indicates they don't know what they're doing. I don't think that they, maybe it's awful of me, but I'm not sure that they care so much about getting the stock where it needs to be.
I don't think so either. The part when he was kind of like, yeah, we're doing better than other people in the industry. And I was like, everybody in the industry is doing trash. Right. Like you're comparing yourself to like the lowest bar ever. It's like, yeah, we're doing bad, but not as bad as everyone else. Like if I was somebody else in the industry, I would have been offended by that. So good job. That was very well worded there. I mean, I don't really think Disney's made good financial choices for at least like the last 15 years. And it's just really coming to roost at this point. And the fact that he was like, yeah, we're going to double down on our streaming services. It was like, nobody cared. Like nobody wants the streaming services. Like there's actively like calls to boycott it. So like, why are you doubling down on it? I don't understand, but maybe I just don't get
it. After $100 billion, they made a few mil, right? They found some currency in the couch. Jonas, Culture, I'll give you guys this. This is the response from the FCC. We're just getting this. From the FCC, quote, Disney is obviously very concerned about the FCC's proceeding, as evidenced by their ongoing campaign of disinformation, as well as their decision to ask a court to stop the FCC from further pursuing matters. The FCC will continue to follow the facts and the law wherever they lead. So that's the response from the FCC, which is basically, screw you, we're going to do what we do, and you're worthy of investigation now. Culture, Jonas, I don't think this goes well for Disney. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll get it in the DC courts and they'll stall this out. But I think Marv is right that the quota being listed out directly in their filings is what I don't see how they get out of this.
Yeah. So the quota was there for several years on top of all that. So and great job on Marv. I think we were also jaded by it when we went through and we're looking at things that when Marv came in, he's like, wait, this is illegal. Why are they still allowed to do this? I'm like, yeah, everything about it is illegal. Absolutely.
It was listed as a skill, a competency.
Yeah.
Core competency for executives is diversity.
Which is amazing. So this company was at its highest in stock price ever around the time that they started this nonsense. So, and now they are, they're the same place that they were 10 years ago because they slumped back down. There was this moment where they almost convinced everyone that they were a technology company, which false. And then they also made everyone aware that they are deeply political as an organization. Both of those things, well, one of them was the one they were trying to hide, which is the political aspect, and the other is a lie that they try to tell at every shareholders meeting that they are a technology company, which they are not a technology company. No. Just because they have a patent that has to do with like the screens around you when you are at the Encanto ride, so they can simulate it being a fun experience instead of it being a fun experience. That does not make them a technology company. No one will hug the Olaf robot, and even if they try to hug it, they will stop them from doing it. So none of the technology that they have at this company is going to replace that. It is a creatively bankrupt IP holding company that happens to be named after Walt Disney.
You've got here how CNN is reporting this. Disney sues Trump's FCC over retaliatory campaign against ABC. I think they've got them dead to rights. I mean, this is amazing. And I want to show you this too, just so you understand what Disney is up to and Dana Walden and how little they must care. In my estimation about the shareholders, Entertainment Weekly is reporting this in a very interesting way. No current plans for Rosie O'Donnell to return as guest on The View, season 30. Well, hang on a second. Read the little title below it. Entertainment Weekly has learned that despite O'Donnell saying she will return alongside of their co-hosts, a formal guest spot has not been secured. by Joey Nolfi. A formal guest spot has not yet been secured. You know what that means? It means they're in negotiations. Rosie has already said, I'm going to come back because it's basically a formality, and they just haven't signed it yet. That's what that means. It says, after Rosie O'Donnell said that she will go on the 30th anniversary season of The View as a guest in the upcoming months, Entertainment Weekly has learned there are no current plans for her to return. Reach for comment, a representative for O'Donnell tells Entertainment Weekly via email, there was a mention of inviting some of the hosts back to The View as a guest during season 30. There's not been a formal ask from the show at this time. But again, what are we talking about here, folks? Rosie O'Donnell coming out there and saying, I'm going back on The View. And then it's walked back a little bit. But they're poking their finger in the eyes. They're like, culture, they're trying whatever they can to make the Trump administration, the FCC, angry. Oh, you don't like The View being called a news program because you don't think it's a news program because it's not? Well, watch this. We're going to double down. We're going to call it a news program. We're going to tell you that we don't have to put anybody on the air for fairness. And we're also going to put Rosie on. Rosie, who exiled herself to Ireland to escape Trump, she's going to come back and be a co-host on The View. And when she comes back, it's still going to be a news program. They're just trying to throw their middle finger at the administration.
Can I throw one more thing in here? Rosie
as long as it's not a middle finger.
Rosie O'Donnell even said, I don't know why I was asked to do the Jimmy Kimmel show. I assumed that we didn't like each other.
Well, they have a common enemy. That's enough.
Exactly. So they're trying very hard to revive a career that okay, I don't see the brand value in Rosie O'Donnell. So
she hates Trump. That's the brand. It will incite all kinds of people to tune. They think to tune into The View to watch what she'll say. Culture. They're clearly, the Disney company itself is clearly incendiary,
yes.
Like trying to get the Trump administration to come after them.
Yeah. I mean, look, and it's in the framing of the articles, and I think Marvin could speak to this better than I can. I mean, the word retaliatory is used with intention. I know that Carol could probably speak to that as well. They use that. There's no retaliatory anything. You are either in violation of the rules or you're not. And Disney has been in the violation of multiple different federal laws and rules across various different segments of their business, including in media, and especially this show. And look, I mean, you know, Rosie was the one that announced she was going to be a guest host coming back after, you know, a 12-year hiatus. I mean, you know, she wasn't exactly loved in the first season that she was in. And then she came back in year 18, and now she's going to come back 12 years later in year 30. And again, this program has been allowed to spout political ideology and to feature only guests from one side of the aisle or the other. So look, the fact that, you know, they're trying to pick a fight or trying to make, you know, Trump or the FCC the bad guy here when they're in just obvious, you know, thumbing their nose at the rules. I just don't understand it. And look, you can tie all of these disastrous choices to the stock price rather easily since Chapek left. In fact, I cannot wait for Chapek's Ride of a Lifetime book or whatever it's called to come out, because I think the tell-all behind that after his NDA is wrapped up is going to be far more damaging to Disney than they could possibly imagine.
We will have a full review of that, Culture. Don't you worry.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to
the motion for that.
Speaking of which, Marv, I'm going to give you the final word since you are the guy who kind of set this stuff into motion. The FCC needed the report that you gave. And it's very simple. All you did was take what Disney said in their papers, but it was buried deep where few would go. And the mainstream financial news media was very uninterested in reporting on this. You did. And suddenly Disney's under investigation. And now they're claiming that the government is out to get them, while at the same time they do everything they can to make the government angry with them.
Right. It was they were flaunting it. They were proud of it. They had it out there in their SEC filings because they thought it was a badge of honor. But it turns out it's not quite a badge of honor. It's more just an admission of illegality.
Marv, you know what it reminds me of? I don't mean to interrupt you, but it just entered my head. I'd love to hear what you think about this. It reminds me of like somebody who's getting arrested saying, "Don't touch me. You can't arrest me. What are you doing?" That's what Disney is doing right now.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. They are provoking, and I think that they're provoking for a reason. I think also the more the FCC or the Trump administration cracks down on them, the more they're able to look like the victim and less like the heartless, soulless corporation that crushes their enemies under their heel, the way they have been known as for so long.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's 100% their plan. But much like they tried doing this with DeSantis, which I will point out that Bob Chapek didn't want that fight. Bob Chapek avoided that fight, and Bob Iger and Victoria Alonso were the ones that pushed him into it. And we saw how that worked. It's going to cost them over $1 trillion. How much money will it cost them this time, now that they're going after an even bigger fish now with the federal government as opposed to the state government?
Well, if they lose, and if they're and this is what's amazing, because again, as we wrap this up, all they have to do is say, "You're right. Those quotas, different leadership team, shouldn't have done it. We were pressured by the Biden administration. We're sorry." Number 2, just say, "You're right. The View's not a news program. It's a daytime talk show. It's okay." That's it. They're risking billions of dollars to not say, "You're right. We're sorry. We'll change." And folks, we have come to the end yet again. Another video of excellence in the can. What a joy it has been to share time with you. We hope you enjoyed it as well. If so, consider clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. And as always, drop a comment down below. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. Join a community dialogue today, just on down below. Folks, we are going to say farewell for now, but we will see you back. 4 is more, and that's how many videos we put out every single day here on the Pro Channel. Hope you enjoy them all. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.